Hello Doctor Who fans across the world. I'm talking to old, new fans, but I'm hoping that we're also going to be talking to a lot of new Doctor Who fans as well, because I get the feeling, Geoff, that Doctor Who is finding a brand new audience. I think we're at one of those crossroads in the evolution of our favourite show that sees everything change.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
How are you, mate?
Nice
You're all right.
you. And thanks for tuning in, listeners.
Yeah. My brain is somewhat bamboozled by the literal wealth and speed of information and news that has been flooding social media and the news pages and everything. Even probably it's been written on the moon, which is obviously a giant egg. For those new fans coming to the show, yes, the moon is actually a giant egg. You can check out our podcast to find out why that is from a few weeks back. But I don't know. We've had a lot of news, Geoff. I mean, what do you make of it all?
Well, where do I start? It's a huge amount of news, which I think is good. I mean, the current era that's coming towards its end, but the Chris Chibnall era that we're both very big fans of, it's been quite different with its news, isn't it? And a lot more secretive.
It's been holding on to things.
Yes.
Very, very tightly clenched fists.
Yeah. And it's difficult, really. I wonder what you think. I like the secrets. I like going in to see something and not knowing anything. I liked that, in the last couple of series, particularly 11 and 12, we didn't know what the next week's episode was going to be about. Do you remember in series 11?
I do.
They
do remember this.
Given brief, synopsis for like episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then episode 6. I had no idea what was happening. I thought, this is amazing. And then episode 7, 8, no idea what was going to happen until like the week before. And we've both been to see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness recently. Not knowing about the cameos and the surprises and stuff in there makes it such a more enjoyable experience. So I'm a big fan of secrets, and I've probably commented on the podcast before about how on earth Chibnall and team managed to keep so many secrets under wraps. Is fair play to them, really. But obviously the events of the last two days have been very
literally
different.
2 days. So just to put people in the picture, we're recording this on Tuesday the 17th of May. Now, in literally 7 days, so a week on Sunday, we had the announcement that Ncuti Gatwa was going to be playing the 14th Doctor.
Yeah,
and we did our little bonus podcast just to cover that. But then since then, we've also had David Tennant, who played the 10th Doctor, announced as being in the 60th anniversary show, I believe.
Yes, as the Doctor. Doctor. They've been quite vague about numbering, and it also said that they're filming scenes for the 60th special, which is quite specific. It's not saying series or episode or anything like that. So that's quite an interesting piece. And of course, they've also announced that Catherine Tate is returning as Donna Noble, who was the 10th Doctor's companion in Series 4, all the way back in 2008.
Was it that far long ago?
Oh, yeah, it was,
Blimey.
Yes. But decades ago.
Decades. It literally was decades, actually.
It really was, yeah. And then today, and then yesterday, somebody new was announced, weren't they? Yaz Finney, who's playing Rose. And then today, not formally announced, but or was it yesterday, Paul? I can't remember now. Bernard Cribbins was spotted on set, which was great. Now, my dad speaks to Bernard probably every week, but nobody told me that was happening, so I'm going to have words about that.
Mate, you know what it's like. They're sworn to secrecy.
They are sworn to secrecy,
until Russell opens his mouth, and then that's it. All the NDAs get ripped up. The tabloids suddenly go, hold the front page! Yeah. Doctor Who magazine, who think they've got it all ready now for the printers gallery.
Yeah,
just go back, lads. Go back. We've got to change it all over again. We've got to put this in.
So someone had tweeted.
It must be mental.
It must be hard to keep up with it. Someone had tweeted, I wonder if Bernard Cribbins was going to be there on Sunday, and I said, well, I don't think so. He hasn't acted for a while. His knees are quite bad at the moment. And then I replied back to the tweet again yesterday. Said I was wrong. So he was in his wheelchair, which I don't think is a character thing. I think that's just a genuine thing now, but lovely to see him. And then of course Jacqueline Silver was spotted, who is Donna's mum as well. But it's gone bonkers again. Apparently Peter Capaldi was at the train station today. Who else have they seen of various people? So yeah, it's.
I think I saw something today about Camille Corduri, Rose Tyler's mum.
Really? Right. Okay.
How genuine it is, I don't know.
Well, you might have seen that a number of, or is it just one, a fake official account has hoodwinked a number of people, including Bad Wolf and Doctor Who magazine.
Yes, I know.
By putting out fake tweets.
Yeah.
Which is quite amusing, but also it makes people look really stupid that they got tricked by it. You think the official sources. This Yeah. So I've just reminded everyone of that.
Well done, mate.
So yeah, it's been a barrage of news, and they've been publicly filming in Camden in London. So they've had to announce things because they was. I mean, they say we've had to announce it because we're filming publicly. Well, they could have started in the studio. So
they could have done.
They've done it for publicity, which I get, which is fine. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know how do I feel about it. I've seen people, saying how much of a sort of showman, Russell is and things, and that certainly is true. I like both. I think really, I like the secrets that Chibnall held, and I think whilst I appreciate some people who have been used to different styles in the past perhaps found that frustrating, I do genuinely believe that the withholding of information and spoiler prevention gives for a much greater viewing experience. And even there was, Russell wrote something on Instagram, I think, saying we'd like to have kept things secret until transmission, but we know we can't. I think
the choice we have is to own it. I think
that's what you said, wasn't it? Yeah, which is a bit like with when they had the Judoon filming for Fugitive of the Judoon, in Gloucester the other year, they announced that the night before, didn't they? Because they were going to
this is the thing, isn't it? Because I'm kind of hoping that what we're actually seeing is probably partly a clever bit of misdirection. I think I tweeted this earlier and nobody liked it, but I think when you think about the Judoon, that episode was, as far as we knew, so this is a story that was out a few years back, and it featured the space rhinos who'd already been in an episode of Doctor Who, actually one of David Tennant's
Smith and Jones episodes. One of my favourites.
But it's always great to see old monsters coming back into the show, and all our attention was on the Judoon, and we thought, this is going to be a nice,
didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a nice little episode featuring the space rhinos, and they dropped some massive bombshells that literally nobody had seen coming. Bombshells that literally rocked the Doctor's universe and everything we thought we knew about the Doctor, and nobody saw it coming because we were focused on the Judoon. And I'm kind of thinking now, okay, so David Tennant's name carries a lot of weight, particularly in the fan Doctor Who, Whoniverse, Whoniverse thing
Yep.
in Doctor Who fandom, right? And he's got a massive following. He's got a huge amount of fans, and he's still very popular. His popularity has arguably never gone away. So as soon as you put a searchlight on David Tennant, that's it. All eyes are going to be there. But who knows what they're doing in the studio, Geoff? They might be
that's true.
cooking up all kinds of things.
Yeah, nobody really knows, and it's a very exciting time. But I think you and I have been a bit torn, maybe, haven't we? Certainly I have. I'm excited, I'm sad, and I'm worried at the same time about.
That's a lot of emotions for any single person to contend with, Geoff.
Yeah,
how are you coping?
Not good. To be
Genuinely,
honest.
I'm hoping you're well. Some of your texts to me the last few days have been a little bit concerning, in a good way.
Yeah, we should clarify. Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to Millie McKenzie, who's at Cowbear Creates, for getting in touch the other day. She tweeted me and she said, Are you okay? You sound really sad, which was lovely of them, and we had a bit of a chat. So, yeah, I mean, we're both big fans of Jodie's Doctor, as regular listeners might know, and the centenary is coming up. I am looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to her going. I wish it would carry on forever, like she said to Yaz in Legend of the Sea Dogs. But I am also a huge 10th Doctor fan and a Tennant fan. He was and is brilliant. I remember sitting down on my own in my bedroom on Christmas Day to watch Christmas Invasion, and of course he's in bed for most of that episode, and then there's this tracking shot moving him, the TARDIS doors open, he comes out, takes a staff from a Sycorax, breaks it on his knee, and he says, you can't get the staff these days, and and I just like, I don't know if anyone remembers that, but I was like, oh, that's really good. I really like that. And
of course, they remember it. Everyone's been playing it again. We've been reminding ourselves of how great the 10th Doctor
that was. It was, for me, it was a bit like with Jodie. It was an immediate sort of
the moment.
Real quick. And I love it. His Doctor. But I've felt it's such a it's a weird. So, like, the Big Finish audios came out, the 10th Doctor Adventures, the first one with Donna and then Billy and then Donna again, and I've got all the lovely book sets of them that they did, and I ordered them immediately when they came out, and I ordered this set with Alex Kingston, and I've got the ones with the old Doctors, and I've got the classic companion set on order, and I've got tons of the books and stuff. But I have felt in the last few years that he's been a bit too present on things. Their Time Lord Victorious, which I don't know if anyone else listened to it and read it and played it and intravenously dripped it, but it was sort of it was a weird event. The two main books that starred 10 were really good, and they had a really good villain in them, and the Korath, I think they were called.
I remember you tweeting about it or texting me about it, saying you've got to read this.
They were really good. I felt 10's characterisation was a bit odd. They were sort of making him a little bit anti-hero. It was post Waters of Mars and pre End of Time, so he's in his kind of dark period, and it sort of it didn't kind of sit quite right, because there was some stuff in it where you were a bit like, whoa, what's going on here? But it was good at the same time. So you see what I mean? It's a real kind of mix of feelings. But I felt overall that Time Lord Victorious was a bit of a wet squid, or whatever you call it, because it was all big fanfare. Damp squib, and then it's sort of.
It was a bit of a squid.
It was. It was.
To be fair, mate, you don't want a damp squid jumping out at you when you're about to sit down and enjoy what you think is going to be a lovely book.
No, so
squid! And now I'm all wet because it was damp.
So the two main books were really good, but then the rest of it, I personally felt was kind of a bit nothing, and because it didn't take place in a kind of present continuity, it didn't really do anything. Do you know what I mean? You didn't feel it added much to the whole Doctor Whoniverse no
thing.
But they were good. So it's a bit of a weird one on that. But so and Tennant's been.
I think I'm following this.
Yeah, hopefully.
I hope you are too, listeners.
Yeah, I think other people liked Time Lord Victorious, but also kind of felt a bit like it was a big fuss for sort of nothing in the end.
Sound and fury.
Yeah. And then Ten has been in comics. He's been in games and stuff. So
he's been everywhere. He's never gone away.
He has been everywhere, and I do understand why. He's really popular, and I do love him. And I think if Big Finish hadn't announced like a whole ton of audios, including Dalek Universe, which is also really good, things might have felt a little bit more tempered. Do you know what I mean? It was just, here's a game, here's some comics, here's a whole load of books, here's this, and it was a bit much. So when they said all these rumours started that he was coming back as 10 again or 14 or nobody really knows, I was a bit like, oh, part of me was like, oh yeah, he's great, but I was also a bit like, why are we rehashing the past so much? And I feel quite strongly, as I tweeted yesterday, Doctor Who is great in its entirety. It is not only good when certain people are making it, and it hasn't been bad since then. And I feel quite strongly about that, and I don't believe that Tennant returning and Russell returning is a great big rescue package, as I've seen it called. But I do think what's happening with Ncuti and Yaz and David is putting eyes on things. And do you remember when it came back in 2005? There's a lot of the people that we talked to online have said they were 9, 10, early teens, things like that, and they were the kind of prime audience for it, and we were still older dudes at that time, but all of these new casting decisions from Sex Education and Heartstopper are appealing to that audience again, and the show needs new blood. It can't, you and I aren't going to live forever unless there's a secret that...
Mate, I've got a plan. Don't you worry about that. I don't know about you, but I've got a plan.
Is it cryogenically freezing your head under Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland?
Damn, how did you know that?
Well,
I've got a jar. I've got a jar put aside in a sterile environment, which is going to be the
fridge,
the new housing for my head, and the intelligence contained within.
For your grand.
It's not a big jar. Not going to lie.
Grand intelligence, yeah.
Well,
so I think it's great casting decisions, and it's opening it up to a new audience who rightly or wrongly haven't paid the show attention before. And in fact, on the day that Ncuti had been announced, I was down at the coast with the family, and we were buying an ice cream, and one of the ladies in the shop said, look, he's the new Doctor. Oh, I love him. Oh, brilliant. Oh, I'll have to watch that. And that's a true story that happened. And the ladies in there, they were probably late teens, early 20s. They were all really excited because they'd watched him in Sex Education. So I thought, well, that is literally the proof of this. If this
that's
working.
What it is. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm rambling. Sorry, you'll have your turn in a minute.
That's right.
So
only 18 minutes into the clock.
Yeah,
we're good.
This was going to be a quick one. So I do feel a bit. I'd been feeling quite down about it all, partly because Jodie was going, and it's always weird when you see a past Doctor's costume on the next one. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a jarring thing, isn't it? And it's made me realise how much I've loved this era, and and I think back to when 10 regenerated and how upsetting that was, and how difficult the switch to Matt Smith was, but it was first episode with him. I thought, oh, he's brilliant. What was I worried about?
David who?
But it was not like that for me. But so I'm not worried about Ncuti at all. I think he'll be brilliant. He comes across brilliant and really vibrant, and I think he'll add another new energy to it, much like Jodie did. But yeah, I just felt a little bit like, oh, why are we going back? And then the Yaz actress is playing a Rose, and I thought, oh dear, and I don't want it to be a total nostalgia fest, and I think I want to know more, and then I'll feel a bit more comfortable with things. You know, is this a series with David's Doctor? Is he 10? Is he 14? Is he something else? Why is his suit a bit different? You know, is this going to be some sort of... I tweeted my idea was that maybe 13th Generation goes wrong, and somehow...
I saw that, yeah.
And somehow all the past Doctors sort of, I don't know, come out or get activated across time or something within their own individual time streams and have to go off on an adventure to save, you know, the universe inevitably, and end up in, you know, one great big episode, and we maybe get, I don't know, the fact that they said they're shooting scenes, could they be doing something where, you know, the previous Doctors are doing bits across, you know, 3-4 episodes or something before they all come together? Do you know what I mean? And they're not shooting
like a series,
like a
mini series,
but leaping between them.
Ancient Doctors before we see the new guy.
Perhaps, yeah. And then they all sort of recombine, and maybe, you know, fingers crossed, Jodie cameos
and they all coagulate in a mass. Yeah. They become a mass.
Yeah, and then regenerate, and then turn into Shooty.
You know what, mate? Frankly, anything can happen.
Well, it could do. That's the thing, isn't it?
It really could. Russell is the master of this. I mean, he's in a position where whatever he wants to happen with Doctor Who is going to happen, and there's nothing in the world is going to stop it, and that's fine. But he does have a tendency towards the bonkers, because the show is bonkers. There's no two ways about it. But I must admit, from my perspective, Russell's idea of bonkers and Doctor Who haven't always sat well with what I've enjoyed in the show. So for me, his tenure, whilst it was great, and I mostly loved it, I didn't love it as much as perhaps I had the older series. I mean, I'm a, you know me, Geoff, I'm a classic Who aficionado. I love the old series, you know, and as bonkers as that was, and as ropey and shaky as it often was, and as wanting as it was in many areas, it nonetheless kind of defines my childhood and my growing up, so I'm incredibly nostalgic for it, and that is always going to bias my opinion in its favour, to be honest. And I remember when, because you mentioned 2005, when the whole series was rebooted under Russell's guidance, and I was kind of feeling then, I think, like you are now, because on the one hand I was really excited that my favourite show was coming back. I hadn't seen it since the Paul McGann episode in the movie in 1996, and the series that was supposed to follow that obviously never happened. But now suddenly it was all official. We were getting some stuff, and we were getting leaked set photographs of things that looks like, could they be Autons and stuff like that, and it looked like it was going to be big and bold. So again, on the one hand I was really excited for it because it was coming back, but on the other hand I kind of suspected that it wasn't going to come back in a format that I recognised or would be so different, and I was just really concerned that, do you know what if I don't like it? What if I hate it? You know, and I will admit, you know, when it came back, that first episode, Rose, just blew me out of the water. I thought it was great. It was everything that Doctor Who ever was, but in a nice, shiny, contemporary, updated package. And, you know, the humour was there, the sense of adventure was there, and the bonkersness was there, and it was Doctor Who. It was recognisably Doctor Who. But other episodes are kind of, you know, then we got the sort of Slitheen episode, which I didn't find particularly endearing. It didn't really sell it to me, and there's been that kind of to and fro, which, to be honest, you know, if I want to look at it objectively, is exactly how the old series was. You know, some stories are fantastic, great and brilliant, and you really latch onto them, but others you think, oh my god, this is awful.
I mean, I think that's you know, it's inevitable with a show like this that is so different, you know.
Exactly, from it is. That's it.
You know,
yeah.
It's not like something like, you know, it's obviously slightly different, but say Bones on TV, or the show 911, both of which I watch. You know, they're very kind of, you know, normal. You know, and every episode is good. It's enjoyable, but it's you know, it's not going back in time. It's not going to the future, and it's not completely different. I mean, there is no other show like Who, not that I'm aware of. I'm sure I could.
There've been
wrong.
a few attempts to make something a bit like Doctor Who in the past, but they've never really sort of pulled it off, I think.
No,
but
it's a concept that is unlike any other and creatively unlimited. But yeah, I there's episodes that if I was to sit down and watch a series from start to finish, I'd enjoy it. There'd be probably some episodes that I love more than others, but you know that I don't think anything is terrible in it, you know. But like you said, there's things that connect with me, you know, a bit more than others.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? This is kind of where I was heading into before you kind of steamed in there.
Sorry, he's politely said I've interrupted him there.
I'm polite about that sort of thing, but you know what I was, because I always take a long way around with these things, but it's so I was kind of enjoying the Russell T Davies era and sort of not enjoying some of it, and there were elements which did kind of annoy me, but other people loved it, and that's all fine. And then we get Stephen Moffat and things change again, and again some's good, some of it I kind of warmed to, really connected with, and there's other bits that I didn't really connect with, but like you said, on the whole, I still on the whole enjoyed it. I would still want to watch it every week. But I have to admit, since the start of the Jodie Whittaker / Chris Chibnall era, personally, I haven't disliked any single part of it. In fact, my enjoyment of Doctor Who has only strengthened. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of critics of this era out there, and they're welcome to their opinions. That's fine, but I've really, really warmed to it, and I like to, I'm generally quite fickle in my affections, Geoff. Peter Davison was my favourite Doctor growing up, but as soon as Colin Baker came on the scene, it was like, oh, yeah, bye Peter, hi Colin, you know what I mean, with his shiny coat and everything else. And then Sylvester McCoy, and it's like, well, Colin who again? Yeah. So I've never felt an emotional attachment to a particular sort of Doctor Who, whether it's been Peter Davison or Colin or Christopher Eccleston or David Tennant or even Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. But with Jodie's Doctor, I really do.
Yeah.
And I think for the first time in all the years I've been watching it, I think I am genuinely going to find it quite emotional when she leaves. And for me, and I think this is, I've seen this on various social media platforms where people are feeling so attached to Jodie's Doctor that it is a wrench, because now, although we always knew it was going to happen, that she was going to regenerate and we're going to get a new actor playing the Doctor, which is always going to be the case, things always move forward, like you said, but now it suddenly seems real.
Yeah,
and it's going to happen. And I think what I'm feeling is that there's a diminishing of our current Doctor, who is Jodie Whittaker, Doctor 13. It's almost like, with all the storm and the frenzy and excitement around David Tennant and Ncuti, it's like, well, Jodie who? And that's really difficult to swallow. Yeah. So for me, when I saw the announcement on Sunday that David Tennant was officially back in the suit, back in the TARDIS, back with Donna Noble, Catherine Tate, all those things, it hit quite hard. It felt like a physical punch to the guts. Like, well, here are the makers of the show, or the new makers of the show coming in, and it's like none of that old stuff really matters now. In fact, it's worse, because they're actually promoting a Doctor who was the Doctor like years ago. And like you said, David Tennant, the 10th Doctor has been around. It's like he's never gone away, because he kind of finished his bit on the telly, went into Big Finish, and like you said, we've had Time Lord Victorious. He's kind of intruded his way into other Doctor's storylines. We've had him in the Doctor, 13th Doctor comics, and it's like, and now he's actually back on the TV, and whilst that's nobody's fault as such, it's nonetheless how I feel. And that's really tough. I've never had any emotional engagement with anything in Doctor Who, whatever. Rose getting locked in an alternative universe, whatever. Honestly, it doesn't mean anything to me.
See,
but here, it's hard.
I was, so into it. I was when Rose got trapped. For me, that was the saddest thing I'd ever seen you know.
Yeah,
and
I didn't care, mate. Honestly,
really?
I was stony faced. Yeah,
And
I'm just
do you
like,
know
oh,
what?
come on, get on with it.
I think
Move
I
on.
realised-
I was like,
Heart of stone. And I realised
Oh, he's a
later that
bastard,
it wasn't long
Yeah.
before that I'd actually broken up with someone who I'd been with for a
Ah,
couple of years,
that's it,
and it
see,
took me
yeah.
years to realise.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why that all hit
kind of
so
pulled
hard.
it out of you.
Yeah, but
it
then when
sucked
Donna-
it from your soul and splashed it over
Yeah.
the TV screen.
And then when Donna, had her memories wiped, and the Doctor was standing in the rain with Wilf and stuff. Oh, it was just.
Yes, now that did make me emotional.
Mm.
Yes, I was emotional on that, but it was an angry emotion because I thought that bit sucked big time.
Yeah, and now
I hated it.
again, that's a funny one.
I thought it was just
because
cheap storytelling, to be honest with
it
you.
was, it was tragic, but it sort of undid everything that she'd been through, and it
Well, it
was
just made everything that she'd been through a complete waste of
Yeah.
time, and I felt as if I'd sort of been hoodwinked.
Yeah.
And this is the problem I have with a lot of Russell's Doctor
and I
Who.
just want to say, sorry,
Yeah.
that her return in End of Time, it didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. Again,
no.
it kind of forgotten, or it seemed to have forgotten that she'd had this problem that she couldn't ever lay eyes on the Doctor
Yeah.
again. She couldn't ever remember, because if she did, she would die.
Yeah.
Or the universe would implode, or I don't know, some apocalyptic event somewhere. So I'm kind of hoping that with the 10th Doctor and Donna back in the frame, we actually see a good conclusion to that story. It would be nice, rather than having the wool pulled over our eyes, or being feeling cheated again.
Do you remember when Vinda was Rose or River, and do you remember when
I do.
Dan was going to be
that was-
the Master? And
Yeah,
now
and that's when I
finally,
hide my head in my hands. But to be honest, I'm being quite critical of this, and I know I shouldn't be. So apologies if I do offend anybody.
I'm just going to say, and finally, someone has joined the show who's got the same name as an old character, and might well be an old character, and at last
Might
the
well
fan
be.
theories
Yeah,
can
I know.
be achieved on that.
But it's part of the fun, isn't it? I know
It
I'm a
is.
cynical old git sometimes. It depends what way the wind is blowing with me. But it is part of the fun. And I remember when I was young, I did all of this sort of stuff, and I would fill up school exercise books with what is essentially fan fiction in a maths lesson. About what would happen if, and what we'd seen in Doctor Who magazine of the next season, and you just make up all these wild ideas. And I do think if social media had been around in the 80s, it wouldn't really be any different to how it is now.
It wouldn't be.
It would be the same, and I'd be right there in the thick of it, coming out with my speculations and and I'd have people telling me, "Well, you're an idiot, Paul. Well, that's never going to happen. You're stupid. You're an idiot." And I'd be like, "No, I'm not an idiot. It's actually true because," and come out with all kinds of wild and wacky ideas, So
I think head.
But I must admit, I have to say, just let me finish on this.
Yeah.
Fixating on a coat is, I don't know, I don't get that bit, right?
No, well, that's
because
sort of-
someone's coat is different, it means this.
Yeah.
Because
I
they're wearing a
think
certain
there's,
pair of trousers. They're the second Doctor reincarnated in
Yeah.
the Master's body as the Valiard or something.
There's a tendency and a danger, I think, to read in too much to things and to headcanon things, because headcanon really only leads to disappointment, because you are wanting and expecting something to happen and it doesn't, and therefore you end up becoming angry because that hasn't happened.
It can happen. This is very true. Yeah.
And also, I saw today someone tweeted there were some posters on the wall at some of the filming today, and it was about a circus, and it had dates for Christmas on, taking place in December, and they were like, "Does this mean it's going to be airing at Christmas time?" Yeah, but the poster next to it was for a Halloween event. I was like, I don't understand why that's been fixated on as this is the secret message that it's going to be going out in December. That's another.
But it's
thing.
what we do, isn't it?
Well, it is, and because nobody
we all
knows
do it.
what's happening, if this is stuff for the anniversary next November, they are shooting a long way in advance, but it depends what they're doing. There is
And it depends on people's availabilities as well, doesn't it?
It does as well. and,
if we're talking potentially a large cast of A-list actors, then who are committed to various things in the year ahead.
Yes, and that might be. There was a rumour that it was a split filming schedule of May, June, July, then off then September, October, November or something. So that could be availability or something. Who knows? So,
but to be honest, if it is a Christmas episode, then I think that's great.
Yeah,
it is great.
That's the bottom line. I love Doctor Who, and whilst I'm pretty confident to say that nothing will connect with me the way the 13th Doctor's era has, people might laugh, whatever, I don't care, but that's how I feel about it. That's their problem, not mine. But I will be watching, and I think the thing is, I think the show would have to be terrible. Someone asked me on Twitter recently, "Oh, you're so positive. What would the show have to do for you to really complain and stop watching?"
It would basically have to be EastEnders.
Yeah, and I thought about it. I don't know if I tweeted them back actually, because I thought it would have to be absolutely awful, and I can't see it doing that. And even if it did do something I don't like, I'm certainly not going to go online and bang on about it endlessly. I still watch it. This thing of hate watching, I hope that it will get better. Well, I think hate watching, you end up filling yourself up with so much hate for it, whatever it might be. So I don't see how you could ever enjoy it again anyway.
I agree. And that's not exclusive to Doctor Who. In fact, I think Doctor Who has it quite mild compared to some other fandoms out there. And I was kind of thinking, well, I do want to retain some kind of surprise for whatever comes up in the 60th, and so what else can I follow on Twitter? I'm a big sci-fi fan, a big Star Wars fan, love my superheroes, and you dip into those fans, it's like, whoa, geez, I'll shut that door pretty quick.
I'm not
doing that one.
The thing is with Who,
that's pretty awful.
The thing with Who is that it is big and it is global. Because obviously we've done our Marvel podcast, and I'm a big Marvel fan, and trying to sort of break into that community in the way I have in the Who community and talk to people, it's quite difficult because there are so many people, but also probably much like the Star Wars thing, there's a lot of people who are very angry. People are angry about Wanda in
there's a lot of anger.
Multiverse of Madness, and I said to someone, maybe you need to read a couple of her old comic arcs. I specified some. Hey, it's out of character in those comic arcs. But how can it be? Because it's a character development, and what they've done.
Yeah.
We're sorry, everyone. We're off topic now, but
we are.
If you're a Marvel fan, let me know what you think. But what happened?
But it's fandom, isn't it? We're sort of talking fandom in general. And I have to say that despite a few arguments that go on, and I've been in the thick of them. I've been on the good side and the bad side myself, because we're all passionate about the things that we love, and we all love these things, and it's very easy for disagreements, especially on these social media things, to kind of blow up and look worse than they actually are. But I think in general, Whovians are lovely people.
Oh yeah, they are. I mean,
we care deeply.
Yeah,
we're not.
Well, that's how we became, friends, and we've got, a number of other people that we talk to, and I met a couple of them, in real life at the Comic-Con a couple of months ago, which was fantastic. And I think, there's always going to be some people who are just there to cause trouble, or their views just don't kind of connect with other people's. But having
probably don't connect with reality.
Yeah,
in fairness, those extreme people you're talking about are way off.
Way out. Yeah, but having a conversation with someone, about the same topic but coming at it from different angles, as long as it's done respectfully of both sides, I think it's cool. And like I said earlier tonight, it's been upsetting to see some people saying Tennant's returning to save the show and stuff like that, and we've talked a bit about that before, because I just simply don't believe that.
No, it doesn't need saving.
It's
got to move forward, and it's got to move forward with the energy that it needs to appeal to to new fans, people who've never seen Doctor Who before.
And I've seen things that some other 13th Doctor fans have been getting. They're obviously upset, and it's a lot to take in to see new Doctor, new returning Doctor, or old returning Doctor, and all of this. And like you were saying earlier, it can feel a bit like Jodie has been sort of forgotten and overshadowed, and it is upsetting. But sending Russell T Davies DMs on Instagram and giving him grief about it, it's not the way to go.
I saw that. I didn't see the DM. I think whoever it was deleted it.
Yeah, I think I saw a screenshot. It's just not a good look.
I'd really want to see that. I mean, like you said, I mean, that is it. But on another level, whilst I'm not trying to vindicate that sort of behaviour,
it does show that they're passionate.
It does. Exactly, yeah. It kind of shows how people really do feel deeply about certain aspects. I think one of the things that happens within fandoms is there's a tendency towards personality cults. I'm sure there's a better word for it, but that's the only words that I could kind of think of at the moment to describe it, where people will fixate, and like I'm saying, my kind of sort of feelings towards the 13th Doctor as someone I've really connected with. Her compassion, her humanity, and her search for and all disruption and everything else. It's it's really connected me to that character. And whilst I would never say I'm a fan of any one particular Doctor over another, I've really felt attached to Doctor 13. So so even with me, and I usually like to think I'm immune to these kind of things. It's very easy to almost like form those bonds with a fictional character at a certain point in their fictional universe, and then when somebody else comes along in the toy box and starts doing different things with them, it can feel very strange. But I also do think that in Jodie's case, because she was the first female Doctor, that a lot of female fans connected with her because of that. There's in a good way, because it's about representation. It's about suddenly, and yes, we've had female characters in Doctor Who before, but none of them have ever led the show. No. They've never been in the front of the adventure. They've never been driving the story. And for the first time now in a big show like this, it suddenly would seem that we're moving forward along those lines. That the show is now actually delivering on its long promised progressive values. And those values have sort of shown themselves at various other times, but there have been a lot of opportunities that Doctor Who could have made, but it hadn't, and now boldly here it is with a female lead.
I think it's really exciting, and people are really responding well to it, and I think that's fantastic. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes in the future with it all. And there are, I think, Jodie, and then Shooty, and everyone else have just shown that there's no limits to this. There's no boundaries, and
exactly.
As I said earlier, not only can the show do anything, go anywhere, but it can be anyone, and I think that's great.
Yeah, so and that's the attraction, for me with the show. When I've said it on this podcast quite a lot of times. It's I think when you boil it down, the reason I enjoy Doctor Who so much and have done for such a long time is that it's always changing, and it may go through phases where it perhaps doesn't appeal to me as much as it used to, or as much as it will do in the future. But I will always, like you said, Geoff, I will always still watch it. We sat here and talked about an episode that I absolutely hated, but as much as I hated that story, I'm still a Doctor Who fan. I'm of all of it. So the personality cults that we can tend to form, I do think they can be dangerous and alienating. And I think there are times when all of us need to sort of take a bit of a look at ourselves and think, okay, I'm being a bit of a dick here, to be honest.
And I've been defensive about the 13th Doctor, and it's come in for a lot of undue hate over the years, and so is the cast and the crew and things. And I've been defensive, but I don't think I've ever kind of gone in at anyone and insulted them and stuff like that, because
I have.
It's not me.
In my bad days, I didn't get any pleasure. I felt awful. But
afterwards. You feel bad.
You kind of think, it's so easy to react though on social media. You've got to be really strong and just kind of take a breath and walk away and come back, or just ignore it, or be intelligent about it. And it's not easy. We can't all do that.
I mean, I saw a tweet the other day, or Russell's back to save us all from the last 5 years of rubbish, and and I was going to say that's not true, is it? But then I thought I'm not going to have a go at the guy, but I am going to kind of counter that, and then I thought, can't be bothered. And then but I did do it yesterday to someone who I follow, and they said they said sort of similar. Russell's back to save us from the last few years, and I said, well, some of us have actually enjoyed this era, and they said, oh, sorry, I meant from COVID and being stuck at home. And I said,
there you go,
that wasn't clear, but so that ended up being quite amusing,
It's easy to get the wrong idea, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
We tend to project what we're feeling onto a lot of the things we see. I mean, some of it is outright. There's no, there's no black and white about it. You see something that's trolling, you know exactly what it is. But on the other hand, things, subtleties don't come across on social media.
And you see something and you think, they're making a dig at something I like. I'm going to stand up for it. And then you realise, actually, perhaps they didn't mean that. And that's just me.
Because it's probably more likely that you're just really tired or in a bad mood when you're reading it. Somebody's had you've had an argument with somebody else, and you're still pulling all those emotions with you. But back to the positive side of things, because that's what we really like to talk about on here. We've said before that on our Meet the Whovians episodes, I think we said to all our guests on there, all our fan guests, that we're all feeling very positive about the future of Doctor Who. That it has a future. And now we're starting to get a glimpse of what that's starting to look like. And for me, I'm thinking, what we're seeing at the moment with David Tennant and Donna Noble and all these other sort of rumoured characters and cast members who may or may not pop up. It's like the Five Doctors all over again.
Yeah, you said that.
I mean, I was around for that, and Doctor Who was never more popular as it was with Peter Davison, who'd only been in it really one season before we knew we were going to get the Five Doctors. So the second season started, and we're just waiting for the Five Doctors to come. And as it gets nearer, and then we hear that so and so's going to be in it. John Pertwee's going to be there, and Anthony Ainley's the Master. It's going to have Daleks, it's going to have Cybermen, it's going to have Yeti, and all these kind of. It's sort of happening again. We're going to see the Brigadier again, and I think, all these things. It's just it's kind of glorious. Really, and I think we've got a choice to either, accept that it's going to be like this, and we either enjoy it or we don't.
Yeah, you're right, and we will, and it will be brilliant. And I think I tweeted this. I hope and I expect and probably know, that I will be wowed by it and I will enjoy it. And
same,
and I think
exactly that.
It would reassure me if we found out that this was. A multi-doc story rather than just 10 or whatever.
But you said you like secrets though, Geoff. You said
I do,
but we both said it.
It's eating at the back of my mind. I know that's the thing. That's I like Chibnall secrets, but I quite like knowing this stuff as well.
But this is also a good point here, actually, right? Is that when you drop little teasers that are not self-explanatory, and Russell's an absolute bastard at this because he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows there'll be lots of speculation, and it'll just drive the internet crazy. And he loves all that, and it's good for the show. But on the other hand, it's like it's we don't have enough information to really be definitive about a certain thing.
The show has got a future, and it is exciting, and it's a global brand. It was never going to be cancelled, despite some people's rumours, wishes, and I think it's brilliant. Long may it live, and it's going to be good fun, and I feel it in my heart that Jodie and Mandip will do Big Finish at some point, which will be really good. Looking forward to that. So before we finish tonight, I've got a few tweets from other fans which I'd like to read. So Kendrick, who's at DDP Kendrick, he said, on Good Morning, I guess he means Britain, maybe, or Catherine Tate let it slip, so it wasn't really a surprise, but still very exciting. Looking forward to it, maybe even more so than the 50th. Dr. Hugh, who's at Dr. Who Hugh, Says, super duper thrilled. Dr. Donna was my third TARDIS team, and I absolutely adored Series 4. I knew Tennant was coming back, that was no surprise, but Donna too, and a load of exclamation marks and question marks. Salty Space Ghost, who's at Salty Girl, says, I always hope to see another chapter of Dr. Donna, and since the Doctor has a TARDIS, maybe the universe has room for another turn left scenario at some earlier point in Donna's timeline. I'd love to see them have one more adventure without Donna's fabulous brain melting. Which is quite good. Agador, who's at Agador72, says, I honestly couldn't be happier with the news. Tennant is my favourite modern Doctor, and I've been calling for his involvement in the 60th for ages on the basis he clearly wants to be there. Having grown up with the 10th Doctor, this is my dream announcement. I mean, that's brilliant to hear. Brilliant. I really like that. Geekier on the Inside, who's at KTC is a geek, says, as always, thrilled out of my mind. There has not been one thing that Who did which missed the target. Excited for another awesome chapter. Flora and Fauna Garden Services, who's at Flora and Fauna GS, just simply said, I'm excited, very excited. Then Fraser Gregory, who's at Felix Fraser, says, not going to lie, slightly underwhelmed, but not sure why. Maybe because of the low-key announcement that, like Shooties, felt born of necessity before it leaked, or because it feels like treading old ground again. Most likely because I don't know where this fits. Are they in the 60th with Shooty? Without? In something totally separate like Night of the Doctor? I think I need more detail before I can get truly excited.
There you go. That's the downside with having information teased, isn't it?
Yeah.
We some people, we can feel deflated or just like, well, what is the story? What are we actually looking at? How does this fit in? Does it upset things? Does it complement things? Does it make things better? Does it make them worse? Am I going to like it? Am I going to hate it? Sitting on the fence for so long, we're not going to see this episode till 2023.
Well, that's the thing at the moment, isn't it?
Could how long do we have to go through this for? There's a lot to be said sometimes for absolute secrecy, but then on the other hand, you get people saying, I need something, give us something. So everyone's going to forget about the show and it's going to die a death and nobody will remember it and nobody's going to watch it, and oh my god, start the campaigns now. So I don't know which is right, which is wrong, but whatever it is, we are now at the mercy of Russell T Davies.
Yes, we are, yeah.
Long may it be so. We're back in that ship. What a ride.
Sean the Mundacian Cyberman, who's at Who Pottervian, says, the greatest news ever. Not only do we get Tennant back, but Tate too. We are the luckiest fans on the planet.
Nice.
Rachel, who is at Raw YLD, says, so happy for this. All I need now is for Peter Capaldi to be in the 60th. Aidan, who's at AidenCG01, says, the news that made my day. I can't wait for them to return. My favourite TARDIS team from my favourite series. It makes me feel nostalgic and like a kid again. And then we've got Richard Thomas, who is... he's got one of these usernames. Sorry, Richard, I don't like these usernames. At R_I_C_H_T_1963.
That's like a serial number.
Yeah, it is, yeah. He says, I'd be happy with greatest hits episodes every year in between regular series to fill the gaps. More Doctor Who is always a great thing, isn't it? Especially if McGann gets the screen time he deserves. So that's good. So Salva, who's at Sal Style, says, Donna is my favourite new era companion, but I can't help but feel deflated that the show is recycling so much of its past behind and in front of the camera. Happy for everyone else though, because the response has been overwhelmingly positive. And Salva, that's a great response. If you're not quite feeling it yet, but you're pleased for everyone else. That's fantastic. So yeah, some positive responses from people there, and a little bit mixed. I think not understandably so. I think, but people are excited for the future, and our show is going to continue, and long may it do so. So that's brilliant. So,
it is brilliant.
I think that's probably all I wanted to babble on about tonight. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that we had to probably just air our thoughts, for better or worse, and I hope you guys out there listening to this, don't think we're just chattering about a load of old nonsense. We probably are, because it's just a TV show at the end of the day. But it's not a TV show. It means so much to us all, doesn't it? Which is bonkers.
And we know that you're,
every time I say to myself, it's just a TV show, I think, no, Paul, what are you talking about? It's not just a TV show. It's more than that. Somehow, some way, I don't know, this program touches all of us in some way.
Yes.
And, we all love it in our own unique and individual ways. And, it's still going, like you said, Geoff. It's going into the future. And I do you know what? At the end, like a few of our tweeters there, I was a bit sort of ambivalent at first. I think I tweeted out that I'm going to need a bit of time to process it. And, I thought initially, why are they going backwards? And, what's going on? And why is Shooty being overshadowed now? Because he was only announced the other week. And now we've got David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, striding in again. And, they're doing the same sort of stuff. But now that I see the love that's coming out from all those people who sort of came on board during his tenure, and now they're sort of nostalgic about this, and nostalgia is really powerful in Doctor Who, because like I said at the start of this show, this is why I'm still a classic fan. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so that's my era of Doctor Who, and anybody who comes back from those days, I mean, crikey, we got Tegan and Ace coming, in the next episode, which I'm absolutely stoked for. I just cannot wait. That, to me, overshadows anything that the 10th Doctor, bringing back David Tennant. But of course, for those people who grew up during the Tennant years, that's their moment. We can't take it away from them. And I love this show for that. And I think it's fantastic that even after 50 odd years, nearly 60 years, what am I talking about? I'm in denial. Right, 60 years of the show, not 60 years for me. I ain't too far off.
Not yet.
God, everyone's getting younger than me now. It's crazy, isn't it? Oh dear. These Doctor Who actors, they're just kids now.
I know, they are kids, aren't they? Yeah,
they're just kids, mate.
It's the greatest
born this
TV
century.
Yeah. Wow.
There's a thought, eh?
It's the greatest TV show of all time, though, and it always will be. Long may it continue. So yeah, it's exciting times. Like we said, very, very attached to Jodie and her Doctor and the era, and I always will be. But yeah, we've got more to come, a whole future. We do,
and so, I can't wait to see how this is going to play out. I'm not sure I'm going to be ready for it all mentally, but
no,
bring it on.
Yes, bring it on.
Bring it on.
Yeah. So everyone listening. Thank you as always, and
thank you for listening to our rambles.
Let us know your thoughts.
Please do,
and stick with us. We've got some exciting guest chats coming up.
We do. We've got a great one coming up this weekend, haven't we? Have we not?
We do. Yeah.
We recorded it a little while ago, but it is honestly, it made me laugh so much.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And we've got some episode reviews, more Meet the Whovians as well, more stuff that we're planning. So keep with us and make sure to tell all your friends, your fellow Whovians, and spread the word. The more people that listen, the better stuff we can do.
Yes, Geoff, there you go. Thank you for listening, dear fellow fans. Enjoy.
Bye.